Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Hi, I'm the Diva D from Carved Out Divas.
April Cobb from April's Beauty Bar, and we are
Diversity
in equity.
in Education. And we're hosted by the fantastic and phenomenal Bianca Goolsby of Teaching for the Culture. Got that out in one breath. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are now in the second week of October. We are pushing forward steadily, as they call it, according to the Hunger Games. We're in the quarter quell at this point in time. We're almost the last last couple of months of the year 2020, and boy, we're looking forward to the end. Let's just hopefully 2021 does better. But just popping in quickly, we actually want to just highlight for right now. We had a radio program that we're on this morning called the Sunday Forum, hosted by Walter L. Smith the third or second or third. Okay, there's a lot of Walter L. Smiths, and we spoke heavily along with Ashley Foxworth about pipeline to prison. And so it's very important that we want to tie that what we're doing today, so we won't be on with you very long. We want to tie that into that radio program that from this morning. So if you missed it this morning, we definitely want you to go back and take a look at it, and we'll tag it into this video here today. So April, how was your week? How has your week been?
Well, it was quite long. I had to take travel to go and visit my aunt that currently is, going through some health ailments. And let's just say that a person could become very accustomed to city life, and when they are find themselves in the country where you have to drive 30 to 45 minutes to find the nearest, grocery store, no, correction, mom and pop store, and any of the major Walmarts or anything like a Burger King or McDonald's is like an hour to 2 hours away. It also reminded me that racism is still very heavily prevalent in their area. Um, in the city, in the town, is what they reference it as, that my aunt is from. There's one bank, there's one grocery store, there's one Family Dollar, there's one gas station, there's ones. So everyone knows everyone. So they become very accustomed to familiarity with people. So when a stranger comes in, they try to enforce or make them become accustomed to how they treat people of color. And this girl right here was not having it. Let me just say that, and I'll pin that there. But the adventure was nice.
Well, I will say that I'm glad that you made it back safely. Because I know my brother also is in that state. However, he's certainly a different part of the state. I think there's a lot more educated people where he's at, and I thank God for that because he's still alive. Okay, because he's a black male in America. So, but definitely, I'm actually glad that you did go because, and you made that last statement that you made because people need to still understand that things that you think are not happening in this country are certainly happening in this country, and they've been exacerbated based on the leadership that we have currently, and including the fact that we have a woman, a Michigan governor who they try to snatch up this past week, and I'm like, really? So what about us as women of color? The sense of heightened awareness for us has to be extremely prevalent. We have to be super heightened aware of our surroundings because we don't know what's going to happen next. And as we draw close to the election, with those are things that's coming up. So how was for school for you? I mean, I know you missed the last day, but how's school been in terms of one, in terms of what's going on educationally for the children, and also two about COVID?
Well, as it relates to the children, the kids that are attentive, the kids that are making efforts to do the work and, try and keep up as best they can on the side from e-learning, they're doing well. And for those children that have not been showing up, late attendance every day, it won't mean like three to 5 minutes late. We mean 20, 30 minutes late and show up, as a convenience. And then parents want to call the school and raise all kind of hell as if, why you not letting my child in the room? Why this? Ma'am, sirs, people, all of the above. If you do your part to know that there's multiple children in the room that I also must attend to, that Zoom doesn't work like that on my end. My Zoom is very slow and lag when it allows the children in. So if you're not in that first wave to get in, when I hit the allow all to join, it's gonna take the next group at least about 5 to 7 minutes to get in. But before that happens, a lot of them just disconnect and just assume you're not letting their child in. Well, no, your child just didn't make the first group. And they gotta have patience. And I've been saying that now for 4 weeks. When it starts to become more of an issue to where administration knows about the problem, IT knows about the problem, the district has been contacted and they're going to work on it. But again, that should let you know your child should be there early if they're always caught up in the latter end of being let in late. What they're saying, you letting my child in late, or you not letting my child in. I get no gratification out of letting your child in late. No teacher gets any type of, award for letting your child in late, keeping, what they need from being in front of your child education wise. Trust me, we get nothing from that. If anything, it's more harmful to us because we have to go back and re-explain everything we've talked about within the first 15, 20 minutes of class. The first 15, 20 minutes of class are critical on e-learning. They're critical. Maybe not in brick and mortar because the first 5 to 7 is due now, or a review of what we talked about the day before. But in e-learning, the first 15, 20 minutes sets the tone, set the atmosphere, set the class for what it's going to be like for me in my e-learning sessions. How's that for you, Denise?
Yes, it's absolutely crucial. And one thing I want to say, and you're absolutely right, because online, first of all, our time is shorter. So because we do have to cut that time down, so less screen time for the kids, so they actually have time to work independently. But what parents need to understand too, the importance of them getting to class on time. Remember, school, and look at our model for school, preparing students for life. You have to understand, if you are getting to class on time, it's teaching a child these much needed skills for later on in life. When you get to that job and you need to be to that job on time, you can't just tell the boss every single day, hey, look, traffic was late, McDonald's was slow making my coffee, I mean, hey, the baby was keeping me up at night, I overslept. You have to build those skills right now so that they can be ready for later on. So yes, I agree with you in terms of letting them in later. And oh, let me just verify, say one more time, please. The child is legally named on the roster. They have a legal first name and a legal last name. When your child pops into the Zoom with all kinds of different names, Fortnite guy, this person, that person will not be allowed into the class. Please have your child, because since they know how to change their name, they please make sure they know they must change their name before they enter the class, because that's why they're going to sit. So that goes back to the argument that you were saying, that when parents say you won't let my child in, of course, because I don't know anybody named Fortnite Guy 422. I don't know nobody. Now I know your child with a legal first and last name. That child can come in.
And I do know that there was someone that expressed some concerns about for those children that are part of the LGBT community, that they're taking offense to say that their child can't choose to use the name that they have identified with. And I don't think that that's the issue in most cases when there has been a communication that has happened between the teacher and the child and the parent. That's not an issue initially when we were trying to make sure that everyone in the classroom was entering a safe space, that we were able to identify the children that were on our rosters, because we have heard the horror stories of people's what they call zoomy bombing. What was it called? Yes, yeah, Zoom. You know what I'm trying to say. That creates an unsafe space for the children's learning. So I know for me, once I established that relationship and clarity from two kids that are in my that fall in that category, I have no problem with it, because now on the roster I made myself a note that these are this is the name that the child prefers and the pronouns. That's not a problem. But parents, once again, remember, we have to create a safe learning environment for all children. So therefore, the name that's on the roster is what we have to initially identify with. And then those alterations can be made. But again, it's about the relationship and the effective communication. No one wants to bring any unwaverly, uncomfort, discomfort for a child. I just don't see teachers. Well, let me not say that. Hold on. I personally would not want to do that for a child. And I will hope that all of my colleagues out there in, that's a teacher, have that same level of understanding and compassion and empathy, because again, it is what it is.
And well, I also agree as well. I just to note, for me, it's especially important for homeroom because with homeroom, that's the attendance that drives the rest of the day. So just know that that's why it's really crucial for me to make sure you have the right rostered name on the right name on the roster, because we know the worst thing that could possibly happen is the child's marked absent and they were actually there throughout the day. So we always want to make sure that's correct. And for us, we have our attendance. They told us we have between 9:45 and 10 o'clock. We need to have our attendance submitted by that time. So it's really important that we get to that. Okay. So then now we're gonna focus. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's focus on voting. Let's just it's really, let me tell you something. It's very important why you should vote. I'm gonna go through just three of the things, the reasons why. A lot of people are thinking, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that important. You have to understand what it's tied to. One of the big things that voting is tied to, and I'm gonna use just personal examples. When people say, oh, they go to court, they don't get a fair trial, they never get a fair trial, they never get a fair trial. Okay. The jury is pulled from the list of registered voters. That's where your jury comes from. So guess what's gonna happen? If you don't vote, your name is not thrown in there to where you get pulled to be an eligible member of the jury. So now you want to know why you've gone to court and you ask for a jury trial and everybody in the jury does not look like you. Well, guess what? That's because you didn't vote. And so therefore your name is not in there and you're not able to then turn around, look to the left and look to the right and say at least 4 or 5 or 6 of the 12 people in here look like me. They're common people like me. That's one of the things. The other thing too, just remember, it's for the common good. The reason I'm gonna tell you how it affects us. Remember, I come from a small place, so I immediately see the benefit of voting because of the fact that I'm truly, when you come from a place where you're less than 100,000 people, it's very easy. I don't know why I think I've lost myself for a second, but when you come from a place with less than 100,000 people, it's very, very easy for you to see the difference or be able to see the significance of what happens when 20,000 people don't vote. So you have to think about it in this lines now. You have 3 or 4 or 5 million people that didn't vote. It makes a big shift. It's going to shift. So, and you're talking about going all the way down to the local level, and then again also to the state level, and then also up to the where we are right now with president. It's really important. Don't think that your vote doesn't count. You should really push to the fact that all eligible voters in your household, eligible voters, need to be out there and vote. Everyone who had their voting rights restored, they need to be voting. April, what do you have to say?
I agree with all of what you said, because if we don't exercise our right to vote, that I just think for those of us that are African American or any color other than a Caucasian person, you have no excuse not to vote. So many of our ancestors lost their lives, and we still have the remnants of, you know, what took place over, hundreds of years ago, and we're still not at a place to where exercising our right to vote is an easy process for us as in comparison to white people, because in some cities like where I'm like where I was just at, I'm pretty sure there are some challenges. And we seen what happened in Georgia when what's her name was running for governor. And all that chaos went through with putting all those different barriers in place that was preventing individuals from being able to exercise their right to vote. So there's no excuse. We're not telling you how to vote, but we would like to make sure it's an informed vote that you are put exercising, and not just choosing for popularity. Choose for what's at the best interest that you feel that particular candidate is in alignment with what your belief systems are, in efforts to how they will represent you as a political official. Because in the end, all these decisions that are made, they're going to impact you and others. And I think a lot of times we forget about that. It's not only about just you, It's you and others. So it's something to think about. Something definitely to think about.
Right. Also, too, and I'm so glad you said it affects you and others. I'm gonna go just share two examples of why it's so important to vote, and I'm gonna go back to 1974 because we love things called facts. Okay, back to 1974. This is where women, all of y'all who like to shop right now, this affects you. Women gained the right to own credit cards in their own names. Listen to what I just said. A woman can have a credit card in their own name. If they reverse some of these laws, imagine if you're not married, you can't get one. And if you are married, you're gonna have to ask your husband for permission to get a credit card. That was a law that was passed in 74. And here's the other big one that affects us as women. In 1978, women gained the right to work without discrimination due to pregnancy. How many women do you see going to work being pregnant? But you were discriminated against up until 1978. I was already almost 8 years old in 1978. Now I understand now why my mother didn't work. I understand why my mother could not work because she was busy having children, but she could not work. I was like, oh my goodness, now it makes perfect sense. So that's just two, and I'm going through a long list of them right here. But that's just two to show you how important it is for you to vote because it does affect your life. It doesn't just affect something for 5 minutes; it affects your life. So, in keeping with that, early voting starts on no on let's see, 10 and you no 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 10/24. You can still get your request your mail-in ballot and you can go ahead and start your early voting after that time. So please make sure. And early voting means that you can go to any site to vote because once the actual election day starts with November 3rd, you have to go to your specific polling station. Okay, so but just listen, do what you need to do. There are so many organizations right now that are doing the souls to the polls. You're seeing people talk about let's go for the bus ride, find a friend, phone somebody. Somebody's going down there. And as you see, there's like for example, in Texas, they had this one I don't know whether the governor or mayor, I don't know what he was trying to consolidate all of the voting places into one district, one area. As big as Texas is, you're gonna take away all the polls. I mean, just people just being nasty, removing mailboxes, all these things. Like remember, we fought for the right to vote, so it is so important that just as a moral obligation to honor your ancestors, please go ahead and vote. Do that. Okay. All right.
And just some notes from the comments. I just shared that women could not vote either. People died for voting rights for women too. We still are not exactly equal in our society. Girl, you know we ain't equal. Look at the look at the difference in the wages, the earnings that we speak so um softly about as it relates to women getting the same earnings that a white Caucasian male would get, and that goes without saying. But if we start becoming more unified and speaking loudly enough about certain issues, there would be a shift and change because we are the majority. Just go put that out there. I can also talk about the lag of Zoom in the district. At certain parts of the day, it is very, very much lagging. Kudos to Gretchen that said she already voted. Awesome job, Gretchen. I have my mail-in ballot. I'm holding on to it until right for the time for me to just slide it on in there. Slide it on in there because I don't mail mine back. Audra said that she have her ballot, but will personally deliver it to the supervisor. Like, yeah, like we're not. I just don't trust it. I don't trust it. Nope, 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 nope. So again, exercise your right to vote, and we're speaking to the woman today. Do your part. Do your part. And again, we are the ones that, if never openly stated, the weight of this world lies heavily on our shoulders daily, daily, because we are the nurturers, we are the caretakers, and we are the ones that support the man, whether they want to say it or not. So again, do your part.
Correct. Correct. Because and you're absolutely right with that at that point because I'll let you know it but it's important for people to understand that a lot of major movements were started by, maintained by, upheld by women. And a lot of times when the men jump on, okay, good, they push it through. They help to push it. But women are the ones that recognize the need That's what's important. The women recognize the need. Now, listen, if we're recognizing the need, then you need to be the ones to say, okay, let's go ahead. We're going to take it and run it. And we're going to make sure that we walk let's say tandem, hand in hand, side by side, so we can work together to get these things pushed out there. Okay, and so now keeping in line with what we were saying from the very beginning, we're going to talk about our pipeline to prison, and then we're going to close because we really want y'all to really look at the interview that we had this morning. I mean, it was just chock full of information. There's a young man who spoke as well, and he was more prolific than anything we could say, because somebody that lives through a system can give you the firsthand experience. So basically, April, just share with us a little bit about the Sunshine.
Should be chopping your throat off. So the Sunshine Education Coalition have officially launched for October, and our theme for the month is illuminating school to prison pipeline, with the focus on the Black child, with the emphasis on the boy. Because yes, school to prison pipeline impacts all children in Hillsborough County. We're aware of that. But there's a population of children that are literally being destroyed year after year in Hillsborough County, and that's going to be the Black boy. And we would not even want to make it an oversight to not mention that these children also, majority of them are your ESC children, but they're the Black boy, the LGBT community, but they're also the Black boy. So again, ELL, when it comes to the Hispanic population, they also are the male child. So there is something that needs to be corrected immediately as it relates to shifting this narrative, as it is impacting here in Hillsborough County our children, getting all of these direct funneling or direct correlations with the DJJ or the Department of Juvenile Justice or the criminal justice system as children. We got to do something different. So collectively, teachers, counselors, community members, parents, and even students, we have come together to begin having these very meaningful and necessary conversations about school to prison pipeline and what we would like to see happen indifferently in our district in efforts to change the narrative about what is happening to the Black boy as it relates to school to prison pipeline. So with that being said, it's right now, it's all women. Like Denise just said, we identified what the problem is, and there have been many people to know that there's a problem. Many people that are that have been in very influential roles that knew that there was a problem, but it just became a conversation for the moment. So therefore, we said no more momentary conversation about this issue. It has to become a movement. It has to become to where it is a constant in your face, a constant reminder, a constant discussion, so that we can begin to have something indifferent happen and services and resources directly poured into that population of children and people that teach those population of children or are administrators for that population of children, so that we can see something indifferent happen, because we don't need to do any more data collection. The trends are there. We don't need to do any more data collection. The trends are there. It's done. We now need to know what small things can we begin to do in order to make a big impact in the future. And this is where we're at. We are educating the community about school to prison pipeline and how it impact all children in Hillsborough County, again, with the emphasis on the Black boy, because that child is who right now is being targeted. And that's the only way we can look at it. They're targeted by this multi-billion-dollar company, well, organizations, and that's prisons. So that's where we're at. We're hosting a live event on October the 22nd from 7 to 8:15, where we're going to again continue this conversation. We have some things in the works. We're speaking with individuals in our district that are in leadership that have expressed an interest in having a conversation with us, in efforts again to do something different, because the statistics again are there. There's no reason why we having so many arrests in schools. There's no reason why we have so many more police on school campuses versus social workers or social services in general that directly are doing something, not just housing them there to house them there, but they're able to actually carry out the services in which the children need so desperately. And I'm going to speak, say, District 5. District 5 needs it. So again, we're ready to do the work, and we are looking for people that's willing to do the work with us. We understand that everyone is busy, everyone is exhausted, everyone is tired. I get it. We are all of those things. But for those that are willing to commit to a couple hours a month in order to help us change this what could be life changing for some children in our district, let us know, inbox us. And if you know you don't have the time, that's fine. Don't waste our time either. Let me just say that. And resources, meaning that it don't have to be always something tangible. A resource to us could be a connection to a person that can be actually influential in this work that we're doing, because we know we cannot acquire the ear of everyone that wants to hear this, especially that are not people of color, because they may not necessarily understand the impact and the amount of the level of urgency that is needed in regards to this particular topic. So again, we stress we are always looking for individuals to work with us in this much needed work. Volunteerism is necessary. Resources, connections, all of those are necessary. And again, helping us get the word out. So please visit the Sunshine Education Coalition here on Facebook, where we post the majority of the information. And we have some phenomenal women that are working with us on this work.
Yes, also, I just want to just leave. April just summed that up beautifully, but I want to leave you with this thought right here. If you think about what prison is just another form of slavery. That's all prison is. And if you realize, and if you think from now that in third grade, if these children don't pass specific standardized tests, they are ready to funnel them into a prison system where they're going to be just basically performing modern day slavery. And if you think like that, if you can really wrap your mind around that thought, that's a hurt you to your core. That should hurt you to your spirit. That should let you morally, you should know something is wrong. And we don't care about our children. We don't care. You don't understand how hard this is. We could be all on the football field. For children who might not even make it to high school, because remember, they might drop out because they're struggling with reading and struggling with math and struggling with science. But we're not understanding how devastating it is that if they don't pass specific tests by third grade, that they're already funneling them into the system. So keep that in mind, and just keep understanding that it's more than it's more than the teacher. The teacher can't do it all on their own. The admin can't do it on their own. All of us together have got to look and accept this. And just like what April was saying, the data been out there. These aren't new numbers. You've been seeing the downward trend for years. We could spit data out, but you could see it in the street. You could just go outside and see how many kids running around when they're supposed to be in school. Just think for a second, if this is your child, this was your child, and your child gonna spend the rest of their life in a box this big because they couldn't read when they were in elementary school. That's all I have.
And Sonia Harmon made mention, every time I reflect back on what she posted, it takes me out when she said a standardized test, not several standardized tests, one test is the determining factor of increasing your child's possibility of, and keep in mind when we say increase their possibility of being funneled into the school to prison pipeline, the other thing with that is that also increases their possibility of death. I want y'all to, we're going to leave on that note. It does more than one thing. It increases their possibility of going into a prison, or it also increases their possibility of death, homelessness, dropouts. We could list, go on and on with the list of things that it attributes to. But the key, the top two, imprisonment or death. a test. There's one test that has that type of power. And the population that it does the most harm to, a race of people, a race of children that it does the most harm to, is the Black child. And we're not raising hell about that. We should have been protesting for the last 30 years. We should have been screaming and hollering about that forever. But I digress for now. So this is April Carr with April's Beauty Bar.
This is the Diva D from Carved Out Divas, and together we are Diversity and Equity in Education. We're hosted by
Bianca Gooseby with Teacher for the Culture. So we thank you all this evening. Be sure to stay tuned and watch the replay of our interviews this morning with Walter Smith Jr. No, Walter Smith the third with the Sunday Forum. The second. It's one of the Smiths. We know he Walter. It ain't Junior. And we thank you all. Enjoy your Sunday, guys. Bye.